All right, it is a YouTube as well. So, welcome to everybody watching also on our YouTube stream. Today, we are going our real estate marketing series. The first week, we introduced you to farming and what it meant to have a farm, some things like that. Last week, we did real estate marketing. We taught you about traditional marketing. We taught you about digital marketing. We gave you hands-on instructions of how to place an ad on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google, and other other types of things like that. Taught you the theories behind it and why you want to do it, how to check your ROI, your return on investment. And then we actually did trainings where we helped you get those ads built. And I know a couple of you have ads up and running, and a couple of you have already gotten responses to them. The good news is the more they run, the longer they run, the more responses you'll get, because just like everything else, like we always talk about in advertising, you could have the greatest ad in the world and run it during the Super Bowl. But if you don't run it again and again and again after the Super Bowl, what we call anchoring technique, people forget it. Oh yeah, that was the greatest ad ever in the world. Remember the Budweiser ad with the Clydesdale, and everybody was crying, and he and the horse were reunited at the end. Good morning. Things like that. But the only reason you remember it is because it was played over and over and over after it played that first time. Well, it's the same thing with your ads. For you guys that created ads, you're always going to have your first people that see it, that just happen to be right place, right time, and are interested. But most people, it's a slow drip. I used to have a friend that was a marketing director I worked with for years, Captain Jack, great guy, and he always said it's like water dripping on a mountain rock, like rock on a mountain. It may take 1,000 years, but sooner or later, if that water keeps dripping, that rock will go, that rock will sink in and go away. Well, same thing here. So again, I always say for those ads, get them up, get them going, keep them going. It's the same reason the last recap, and then we're going to move to today, that we talked about was the difference between why it's so expensive from a return on investment standpoint to do physical advertising over social media. Social media, if you do the type of advertising where you're getting people to become fans or join your group, once you've paid for them once, all the advertising you do with them afterwards is free, right? Every time you post, they're not going to see every post, but at some point, they're probably going to see about 1 out of 5 of your posts, 1 out of 6 of your posts. And after you paid that 36 cents to get them as a fan or in your group, you're now advertising to them for free. If you continue to advertise, the only reason is to get more people to follow you. Whereas if you put an ad in a local newspaper, it might cost you $125 a week. They come home, they see it in their mailbox, they throw it in their recycle bin, they see it in their mailbox, and you have to pay $125 every week to keep hitting those same people. Oh, they keep seeing your ad, yeah, your ad, and it may take them a year or 2 years or so to finally call you. So you're paying every time. So moving to today, the great Daryl Davis. And for you, if anybody doesn't know Daryl Davis or know who he is, he wrote a couple great books. He runs a coaching program. I'm actually a member of his coaching program just because he's got great material, guys. He's one of the best out there. But this is a quote from him. Farming and real estate, like agriculture, is an art. It's about planting seeds, cultivating leads, and seeing what will develop. The key, of course, is to consistently nourish your real estate farm with mailings and events. I think I mentioned to you guys, I bought my house back about 4 or 5 years ago. And before I had even moved in, I had citrus trees mailed to the house. I had to tell the people I was buying from, hey, if these get here before my closing date, do you mind just, taking them out of the box and letting them get some sun, maybe put a little water on them because they were in plants. For 5 years now, I've been cultivating an orchard basically in my yard. I have more limes right now that I know what to do with. I've had bananas grow, the vanilla ice cream kind, which is great. I now have my first oranges on a tree that hopefully will be ripe with, I would think, probably within the month. But a lot of my trees have not produced fruit yet, even though they've been there 4 or 5 years. I tell you this story not to tell you of my farming annex, but more so to explain that your advertising in real estate with your farm is the exact same way. You may put a mailer out and get somebody to, like my lime tree, very quickly produce fruit, have somebody call you. But most of the time, most of the trees, like I have, take a ton of time, and I have to keep putting water on them, right? I've got an irrigation system that runs on them, I don't know, 4 days a week. Every quarter, I have to feed, put down this fertilizer for all these trees, except for my banana tree. My banana trees are hungry guys. I have to feed them every month. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Well, it's the same with you guys. Once you pick your farm, and I've seen far too many people do this. Oh man, I sent mailers there for 6 months and I didn't get a thing. So I stopped. Or I sent the greatest mailer I ever created and they spent 3 weeks where they should have been calling people and getting appointments, creating this beautiful marketing thing. I sent this beautiful thing and nobody responded. Yeah, because you didn't do it long enough, right? Am I going to go home right now and chop down my lemon tree or my mango tree because they've been out there? My lemon tree's been out there for 5 years. At this point, it is probably 9-10 feet tall, still waiting on fruit. Am I just going to chop it down? When I started with it, it was 3 feet tall. No, it takes time and consistency. And that's what you guys have to do. You have to be patient. You have to be in this for the long haul. And as I said to you in week 1 of this, a couple of weeks ago, if you don't have the money or you don't have the wherewithal or you don't have the plan, don't do it, because you're just going to be wasting your time, money, and discourage yourself. So why do you farm? You farm to get business to come to you. What's the difference in this business on any other business? You have to go to the business. The business doesn't come to you. I think I've told this story to some of you before, but when I first got in this business, I went to a couple of people I knew that had been career car salespeople. They could sell snow to the Eskimos. And this was, a little bit of me being naive, not understanding, obviously, this really is not a sales business, what we do. We are consultants. We are advisors and consultants that help people through a real estate transaction. We're not really salespeople. Salesperson tries to sell you something maybe you want or don't want. We don't do that. We don't push people into things. We help people find things that they're looking for and help them to make the best decisions based on the information they've given us and what using our wisdom and our experience to help them devise a plan. The difference in real estate of any other business is you have to go to the business. We have these beautiful offices. We're sitting here right now in I don't know, it's this 3,500 square foot beautiful office. Nobody comes in here and sits here and waits for a customer to come in the door. If you did, and we have people come in the door all the time, which is odd. Most real estate companies have no one come in because, number one, we're in a busy shopping center, which is smart because it's good advertisement. People know we're here. And two, because we have a huge property management business. So we do have people that walk in here from time to time. But if you came in here as a realtor, or any real estate office for that matter, barring a couple of real odd exceptions, and you sat down at your desk waiting for someone to come into you, I would at some point come in and find your skeleton, your dead skeleton, because it's not the way this business works. 20, 30 years ago, yeah, not anymore. Now people start their business here. They start their business here. They start their business on a tablet. So when you farm, it is the one way that you can get business to come to you. Now you are still going to them first, but you're doing it with farming efforts. What does this mean in the long term for you guys? Not for you new agents need to be doing your calls every day. If you're not making your calls every day, you're going to really struggle if you're going to even make it in this business. You've got to be making your calls every day, reaching that number of people you need to reach. And if you do that, I promise you'll reach your goals. If you don't do that, I promise you're going to struggle. And I can only lead you to water. I can't make you drink. But farming over the long haul will make it so you have less cold calling because people will know who you are. They'll build, they'll refer. And this is the same thing true with sphere of influence, which is what our training is next week, where they get to know you, right? So the other nice part with farming is it's a less threatening way to prospect. Right? I'm sitting here with one of our agents. She's putting together a welcome letter. Hi, I'm your neighbor. I live in the same town as you do. Blah, 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 blah. If you have any needs, it's friendly. It's nice. You're being a good neighbor and getting to know people while you're asking for your business. It's not calling an expired listing that hates all agents. And why are you calling me, all you agents? I hate you. And we've all gone on those calls, right? Not that bad. At least I hope not that bad. If you have, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear his story and share it. The truth is, though, this is very, very non-threatening. And for some of you that may be a little bit timid, it's a great way to, in addition to your calls, which you still have to make, and I'll coach you through that and help you through that if you need it, to get to prospect. Farming creates steady business and a steady flow. I still spelled steady wrong, people. Sorry. Probably was writing this one. I did a lot of these late at night as I was building my business, so I was probably tired. I promise. I do know how to spell the word steady. There's an EA. This is, what was that? There was a great line in Frasier, the less common spelling. Yeah, that was a real snide way of saying, yeah, idiot can't spell. Anyway, a steady flow of leads and income. And if you do this over time, you will have a steady flow of leads and income. 5 concepts of farming I want you to know. Number 1, you need to have a targeted group that you implement. See, I must have been tired. Look at that. There's an extra T. Implement my 3-3 rule on. Is everybody familiar with my 3-3 rule? Very quickly. When you meet someone in person, you give them 3 business cards and you say 3 things, with the third one having 2 parts. The first part is your name. Very hard. Second one, what you do for a living. I am a realtor. Century 21 Integra. Third one, this is 2 parts. You ask them if they have any real estate needs, and ask them that if they know anyone that have any real estate needs, that they would get in touch with you and connect you with them. So you always need to have a targeted group that you're implementing this 3-3 rule on. And of course, with a farm, we taught you before with your sphere of influence, you want to talk to them about every 3 months, 4 times a year. With a farm, they don't know you at all. So guess what? You've got to hit them at least once a month so they get to know you. Well, after you get to second year 2, year 3, you could probably cut back to 10 touches. Which will save you a little bit of money and or time. But, once you're going, you got that going, why would you? I want you to become a local public figure. Great story. When I moved to the town I live in, I knew no one. I put together a social media page for our digital mastery class, just to show people, this is how you build a page in a group. That page now has 7,000 or 8,000 fans, and the group has 43,000, I believe now. And I just had an advertising company call me, which we're going to talk with you guys, my agents here about this, that they want to pay to get in our groups so that their people can put their businesses in. Like, yeah, you can certainly pay to advertise in my group, no problem. I knew no one in the town. About 1.5 years into this, I was at a murder mystery dinner at an Elks Club, and the way they had a catered dinner, but they had to go get your meal up at like their kitchen window. And as I was walking up with my 2 friends that took me to this fun event, a guy says, "Hey, you're that guru guy." And he said, "Can you come over here?" And he introduced me to his table. "You guys all know this guy? He gives the best reviews of this, that, everything that's going on in the town. This guy knows everything." Never met this guy, didn't know who this guy was. But I become a local public figure because I farm the area digitally, using social media, using all the other things like that to get people to follow me. So what I want people to do, every year I teach this, even 10 years ago when I taught this, it was kind of getting past its prime. But every year I do this, I guess I'm showing my age. But what I want is when people in your farm think of real estate, they think of you. For any of you, and there was a resurgence. I had a good time in my training because there was a resurgence. They did a sequel to the movie, but there was a great movie in the 80s called Coming to America. James Earl Jones, Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall. It was funny. Anyway, Eddie Murphy's character, he was all into John Amos, John Amos's daughter, and he goes into her office just to try to have an excuse to go in there to clean out her trash can. There's nothing in her trash can. And he said, well, if you have any garbage that needs disposing, come see me quite urgently. And then he says, when you think of garbage, think of Akeem, which was his name in it. That's what I want people to think of you. When they think of real estate, I want your picture in their head. And that needs to be your goal. That needs to be your focus. And that's why I tell that whole long story about, that movie, just to try to relate it to you guys of how important this is, that when somebody thinks of real estate, if your picture comes to their head, guess what? When they have a real estate need or they know somebody has a real estate need, you're going to get that deal. And that's what we want. How do we do this? We do this by using a variety of techniques, including mailing, advertising, social media, door knocking, events, and more. Concept number 2 of farming. Learn basic prospecting skills before you farm. Be good at and get into the habit of daily prospecting to sphere of influence, expired listings. I'm sorry, I've got to take this, guys. Excuse me just a moment. This is Bill. Sorry, guys. I thought that was an important client call, and it was not. I've got a client that asked me some advice, and it's kind of time, whatever. Anyway, sorry about that. But I need you to be good at and get in the habit of prospecting every day to your sphere of influence, expired listings, FSBOs, cold calling, networking, and all of that before you begin farming. Now, let me say why I wrote before you begin farming. You can start farming right away if you'd like, but I have seen too many people fall into what I'm going to call the buy my way out of trouble trap. In other words, you know what? I don't want to call my sphere of influence, or worse, I don't want to call expireds or for sale by owners or call around a neighborhood with just listed, just sold. So instead, I'm going to put all my eggs into the farming bucket. And I've seen agents do this, and when the agents do this, they fail. Guys, they fail. Fortunately, I haven't had anybody in my offices. I haven't had a couple try this, and I've pulled them aside and just said to them, do you remember what we said? Remember what we taught? Because remember the very first week for you guys that have been with me since week 1, we talked about the difference between prospecting and marketing, and that you need to have a balance. And in the beginning of your career, your balance needs to be off-centered towards the prospecting side. As you get more clients and more sales, you're going to be able to balance that out to the middle where you're doing prospecting and marketing. But marketing can never take the full place of prospecting. You have to stay in touch with your sphere of influence. 49% or 47%, I don't have it in front of me right now, of sales happen from your sphere of influence. And if you're a Florida realtor, like most of us that move into a town, I moved into Newport Richey, I knew no one, right? Now I know thousands of people. Why? Because I built my sphere of influence. Yeah, I did some of that through farming and social media and whatever, but I did it through getting to know people, networking, getting out there, cold calling, neighborhoods, and getting to call, know the people, just listed, just sold, and build relationships with them. And then I used farming mixed with that. So my point, guys, is that don't think this is a substitute or a get-rich-quick way, which everybody I know is trying to sell you. Your phone's ringing off the hook. You're getting text messages. I just got a call that disrupted me from this class that I thought was important. It was somebody trying to sell me something, that I could be a millionaire by dark in real estate if I just do this Facebook ad or whatever they say. Don't let this distract you from your real job, which is you need to be spending 2 to 3 hours a day on the phone, networking, meeting people, and talking to people that have real estate needs or perhaps know people that have real estate needs. Farming is a long-term strategy, and farming begins to pay off in a year or two. Concept 3, you need to have a marketing hook. I'm going to give you guys a couple marketing hooks that I love. I'll give you mine when I started. So for you guys that don't know, I'm a very avid boater. I grew up on the water in New Jersey. My parents still live in a house that overlooks the bay. We don't have riparian rights. There's no dock or anything there, but I grew up on the water. So when I first got into this, I called myself Bay House Bill. And the reason for that was I popped out the fact that I was a boater, that I understood, and I went and learned inside and out riparian rights and all those types of things. So that, and I'm from the Jersey Shore, where there are so many houses on canals. It's very much like Florida. So many houses on canals with boat docks and all that kind of stuff that that was going to be my niche. So Bay House Bill, and everywhere I went, Bay House Bill, Bay House Bill, Bay House Bill. My first listing doesn't sound like a lot of money now, but my first listing was a $1.6 million house on the bay. Had panoramic views. They looked out the front window. You could see the ocean across the way. You could see a bay across the way, and they had a waterfront behind them. I got it because of the way my marketing hook worked. While $1.6 million doesn't sound like a lot in today's economy, at that time, average houses in the area I was selling were $200,000. So it was a lot of money. Another one. I've got an agent that I still hear from him all the time. His name's Rich. He tells everybody, get rich in real estate. What a hook, right? You're going to forget that when you meet him? Hey, I'm Rich. Get rich in real estate. And if you go to, he has a website, his social media, his @ is Get Rich in Real Estate. Why wouldn't it be, right? Great. My favorite one. I had an agent. You'll hear me tell other stories about him. He's the one that used the vision board when I told that story about he wanted that Ford truck with the Harley Davidson package, and he put a picture of it. So when he went in the morning and didn't really want to make his calls, he looked and said, no, I want this truck. Got himself motivated every day, picked up the phone. He drives around in that truck today. Well, maybe not at this point. It's probably 5-6 years old, but he might have got a new one. But regardless, he used that as his motivational tool. But guess what he did? He decided he wanted to specialize in townhomes and condos. He called himself the Condo King. On his advertising, on his business cards, he had a ridiculous crown on his head. Okay, and it's a good-looking guy. He's my neighbor, great, good friend. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it worked. But think about this. If you were looking to buy or sell a condo, who would you go to? Your average realtor or somebody that they say they specialize in it? And that didn't mean he sold many single-family houses. But for anybody that had a condo or a townhome, guess what? Who are you going to go to? This realtor or the Condo King? And it worked for him. So get yourself a marketing hook. Create a slogan. Define your target audience. Again, you can still sell to everybody. The one that gets me is I've been doing this in Florida now for 6 years, 7 years. God, I've been here a long time. And I've never had an agent come to me and say, I want my target audience to be 55 and over. And I'm not telling any of you to do this. In fact, let's see how long the streak can go. But with the way Florida is set up, how no one would want to say, I'm going for this 55 and over market is just beyond me. So ask yourself, what type of houses will you work? Will you target people from your previous profession? You get people that, we've got a bunch of school teachers. In fact, I was on the phone with one of our agents this morning, one of our agents, and she was a school teacher for years. And she used to be good for about 8 deals a year just from the fact that she'd go in the teacher's room and work her magic. And, we get nurses, we get military, we get, you name it. I had a girl that worked for me. She worked for the defense ministry, whatever it is, the defense, whatever. And she would get people going on or off the military base. She was basically their go-to. Hey, I work here and I'm a realtor. So you're being transferred in, I'll find you a house. You're being transferred out, I'll sell your house. It was great for her. She was able to get extra deals just from going to work. Target from your success. You can get to the point where you can say, I sell a house every 7 days. You can always do that kind of stuff. This is probably, for you guys that are experienced on here that have been around, you might have something like that you can go to. If you're new, just keep this in your back pocket, because you will get to this point where you'll be able to say something like that. Or, I've sold 7 houses in this neighborhood in the last year. I had that run going in my farm, and I hardly even tried to do it. It just kind of fell in my lap. I had a friend that lived there. And from that, I had a guy that found me on Facebook, and I had another guy that found me on Facebook. And then his neighbor said, I can't believe you sold my neighbor's house for that much money. It was my name, and it kept going. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, man, I've sold 7, 8 houses inside of 12 months in this neighborhood. And I didn't really have to do anything for it other than just got a little lucky. And it was because I was then able to send stuff out showing all the solds I had there. The ball rolls, guys. Once you get the ball rolling, it rolls and rolls and rolls. Okay, number 4. Have a targeted, narrow focus. I've told you the story before about the sun and a laser. Sun, infinitely more powerful. A laser, infinitely less powerful. But a laser shot in one direction will burn a hole in the wall. The sun goes everywhere. Yes, it shines, but it doesn't burn a hole in the wall. Why? Because it's not putting all its energy into one spot like a laser does. You guys need to pick a specific geographic location. I want you to be a laser. So what does the sun do? Sun, and people aren't real familiar with it. A laser, it burns a hole in you. You're going to remember it, right? I want people to remember you. I want you to burn a hole in them by hitting them over and over and over. So pick a specific geographic location. Pick a specific niche. Again, there's my example, Bay House Bill. Pick a specific type of house, the Condo King. Farm to people in a specific club, group, fraternal organization, your church, your synagogue, wherever. This program that I have here, Honoring Our Heroes, it was now stolen from me from the state of Florida. I've been doing this program long before they had it here. And I'm kidding, because their program is different than mine. But I have a program that if anybody wants to use it, in fact, they'll have it in the breakout session today. It helps you give a rebate of your commission, your mortgage person, and your title person to do the same, and maybe a couple other people, an inspection company, whatever, and give back to people so they get a check at the closing table because they were a doctor, because they were a fireman, a school teacher, whatever it is you want to include on there. So do things like that where you go after specific groups, and farm to people with a similar hobby, interest, or specific demographic. For me, if I was doing this full time, I'd go after boaters and golfers, because that's how I spend my life. Right? People. Well, the craziest one I have is I had a guy that is a chess master, and he created a bunch of things and goes after the chess people. Well, here's what I learned about chess people. There may not be a ton of them, which is what my concern was when he was putting it together, but they are loyal to each other. Kind of like model train enthusiasts. If you happen to be one, do that. Although I don't think people sell their houses because they live in their basements with their train sets. But anyway, number 5, get yourself prepared for 6 months to a year. Make sure you have money to put together a plan for a minimum of 6 months. Really, you need a year, guys. And pre-plan it. One of the things that we do is we give you sheets that you're going to get. I believe it's in the breakout session today, where you go and you plan your 12 months. Unless we already did that. We might have done that 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. Where you're going to plan your 12 months ahead. So in September, I'm doing this. In October, I'm doing this. In November, I'm doing this. Boom, boom, boom. One thing that we do here, every year in October, we rewrite your business plan and put together your farming plan. So you may be doing this now, you might only want to do your first week or 2 weeks or month, 2 months, 3 months, because we will do this again as a group as we get into October and get it ready. So basically right now you'd want to get it ready just for the rest of this year, because we're going to put together 2026 in October as a group. And don't quit. The only reason that this doesn't work is because people quit. They run out of money. They run out of ideas because they didn't pre-plan, and they're not consistent. You have to make your phone calls every day consistently. You have to do your farming every month consistently. So we have a 6-step process to developing your farm. First, use the 6-step process to develop and maintain your farm so you can consistently attract clients from the area that you want to work. Number 1, select your target market. What's the style of home? Are they pool homes, colonials, capes? You can tell I wrote this up north, etc. Unique niches, waterfronts, 55 and over, multifamily, condos, farms, lots of land. You're going to farm to professionals, teachers, first responders, whatever your last profession was, because you have a big circle of influence there. Location, where will your farm be? And as I said, the closer it is to your home or office, depending on where you work from, the better. You need it to be convenient. When somebody calls you at 5 to 7 and says, hey, do you mind coming over tonight? You don't want to be an hour away. Number 2, determine the size of your farm. It needs to be a minimum of 500 in size. The bigger, the better. However, especially if you're a new agent, monetary considerations come in if you're looking to do things like printing things or mailing things, et cetera, et cetera. If you're going to do this the good old-fashioned way, a lot of walking around and using your company's printer and things like that, you can go a little bit bigger. But when that mailer comes, or you decide you want to give them a Christmas present with a calendar, and those calendars are, let's call it a calendar magnet or whatever you want to do, and they're $1 each, it's $500 if you have 500. If you have 1,500, it's $1,500. You got to make your best decisions. Use postal carrier routes. Every door direct mail is fantastic for this. We showed you this 2 weeks ago. You pick your carrier route, and it puts your postage to a price. What did we say for? Do you remember what we said for 500? Was it 42 cents a mailer? Well, right now a postcard stamp is over 50 cents. I think they're 51 or 52 cents. So you're talking about getting something printed and delivered for 42 cents or 48 cents, whatever it was. It's way cheaper than just saying I'm going to do this neighborhood and I'll get my list from whatever. Using the postal carrier route, you're going to get everybody in there for a fraction of the price. Neighborhood considerations, a particular development. Personally, I think I've told you guys this. I didn't have this here when I wrote this, but I don't use my neighborhood because my neighborhood, I live in an airport. Everybody flies a plane. My neighbor, her husband's a pilot, and she knows all about hangars in the yards and driving down the street in the plane and all that crazy stuff. I know nothing about it. So if I was going to farm, it wouldn't be my neighborhood. So you have to think about things like that. Choose your location in the service area of your office. Your office doesn't necessarily mean the physical location of your office. It means the physical location of your home. You need to have your office and your brand known in the area. Here's the good news. If you're one of us watching today and you're Century 21, there's rarely anywhere in the world you can go that doesn't know the name Century 21. 94% of Americans recognize Century 21 as a real estate company. To put that in perspective, number 2 is RE/MAX at 82%. Number 3 is Coldwell Banker, which we own, by the way, same parent company, in the 60s. And everybody else is under 50%, meaning 1 out of 2 people don't even know who they are. Choose a high turnover area. What does that mean? That's an area where people are both moving in and moving out. If you see an area like, hot darn here, they got 8 houses for sale. Man, I can get listings there. And then you realize that nobody's buying from there. Guess what you've got? You got a problem, because you might very well get a listing, 2 listings, 3 listings. But if you can't sell them, the end of the day, what's it worth? And the answer is nothing. Same thing the other way. You might have an area that's really attractive for people. All kinds of people want to move there. So you got buyer, 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 buyer. But the people that live there, they don't ever want to sell. They're turning their houses over to their children and grandchildren. Find an area that has both people that are selling and moving, but also people that want to move in. Pick an area with less competition. What does that mean? You don't want to go into an area where there's 5 agents that are all farming your area. How do I know that? A couple ways. If you live in the area, have you received mail from them, or did you before you became an agent? Because a lot of times agents are taken off those mailing lists. Ask your neighbors. Hey, I'm a realtor. Who would you say is the premier agent in this neighborhood? Not company, agent. You can ask company later, but agent. I don't know. I don't know who to say. And you get a couple answers like that. Probably nobody's really taking it over. Go into the MLS. Look at the past year to 2 years, okay, depending on how many are there, and see, is there a particular agent that has sold 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 houses in that neighborhood and nobody else? If you see 3 or 4 agents that all have sold 2, 3, 4 houses, it probably means all those agents are farming the area, and so there's a lot of competition. Find areas with less competition. Number 4, become a techie. You must be able to use the power of technology. It's changing every day. It's changing from when I wrote this. And I know it says 2022 on the all rights reserved on the bottom. This was originally written, though, before that. I believe I wrote this originally in 2014, so things have really changed since then. But even in 2022, people didn't really know much about AI. It's changed. Use things like Cole's Realty Resource, RedX, Mojo Dialer. They cost money, yes, but from them you're able to extract names, email addresses, phone numbers, and things like that. Their auto dialers are usually a little bit more. They're expensive things. They're great. Trust me, I had an auto dialer for a long time. You sit in there, you put headphones on, push a button, and boom, you're on the phone, on the phone, on the phone, on the phone. I recommend that when you get money to be able to do that. But to be able to just pay for the daily list of expireds or to get a geographic, geographic's a huge one, because now you can get all the names, emails, addresses of your neighborhood. So you're going to be able to mail to your neighborhood using Every Door Direct, but to get the calling list, to be able to call up and follow up and email, you're going to have to pay for that. And you may be able to do that through a one-time service. So you only pay for, hey, look, I'm farming these 629 houses. Let me buy that. And you're able to do that. And it's probably more, less expensive. But if you want to expand and always be getting things like your for sale by owners and whatever else, you might want to look at one of these other services. So it's completely up to you. Put your plan together. Use your CRM. We have Moxie Engage. It's fantastic. You need to record every conversation. I don't mean record it like with a microphone. I mean record it by writing down what your conversation was about, how it went, and things like that. A couple sentences is all you need. So you should always have that person's contact information open while you're having the phone call and write it down. Before you go to your next call, you need to schedule the next time you're going to call this person. So if you're calling somebody in the farm, maybe you've dropped off 2 or 3 things and now you're giving them a call to introduce yourself. Hey, did you get my mail? Did you get my welcome thing? Did you get this? Did you get that? Did you get my invitation for the neighborhood yard sale? Whatever it is. Now, when am I going to? No, yes, whatever. However the conversation goes, you write it down. Maybe you talked about something and you can put that there to bring it up next time. Now, when am I going to call them again? Might be 2 months, 3 months. Doesn't matter. Might be tomorrow because they knew somebody wants to buy in the neighborhood. But make sure you write it down, have it scheduled, and have it so it pops up that this is a person I need to call on that date. Automate newsletters and other collateral. Your newsletter should just automatically be going out to every person on these lists. So if you go and get a list of your farm and you do whatever, you drop things off, you do an Every Door Direct mailing, In addition, they're going to get your monthly newsletter. They're going to get your just listed and just sold digital postcard that you mail out. They're going to be assigned for you Century 21 agents to your neighborhood news. It's going to give them an update on what's happening in their neighborhood. You don't have to worry about this group having their zip code. You know their zip code. They all live in the same neighborhood. You apply us. So now guess what? Instead of just getting that, hey, wanted to introduce myself mail the first month, they're also getting your monthly newsletter. They're getting your neighborhood news. And if you happen to list or sell a house, they're getting that. Multiple touches, guys. Guess what that does? It breeds familiarity and them getting to know you. Personalized touches when possible. There are certain things you're going to put dear neighbor on. In fact, I think we just did on one in here. And that's fine. But when you have emails that you're sending out from your CRM, you can put in there, it's real easy to use, where it will extract the person's first name. Or if you want to be a little more formal, put Mr. or whatever, you could do that too. And have it automatically auto-populate in there. Learn to do that. That's what we're talking about, becoming a techie. Learn how all these things work. Number 5, develop your list. Use Kohl's Realty or something similar to get your names, addresses, email, phone numbers. Purchase a list for target markets by profession. You could use the Polk resource, which give you all the nurses or give you all the doctors or give you whatever it is you're looking for. Make your first touch an introduction letter. So many agents, again, they're trying to buy their way into business. So what do? They do what everybody else tells them to do. They send a just listed, just sent, sold postcard as their first mailer. There's nothing wrong with that. It's one way to get yourself started, and you're going to do it month in, month out, month in, month out. But does that really catch people's eye? They might be interested, but are they going to even remember who it was that sent it? It takes much longer for them to get the name face recognition than if you send them, and I like to drop these on somebody's door, knock on their door and hand them to them. Or if you don't want to knock, just put them on their door where they'll get them when they get home, okay, or open the front door. An introduction letter that's personal, that's from somebody that lives close or even in the neighborhood, with your picture on it, and they start to get to know you. And then when you follow up with the next things, guess what? They have much better chance than if you just send them some boring postcard that works, but just, that everybody else is sending. Introduce yourself, again, as a proud resident or a proud neighbor, depending on if you live in the neighborhood or you live in the town. Introduce yourself as someone from the profession if you're doing professionals, or you have the same hobby or the same interest or fraternal group or group organization. And we have an activity for you on this. 8 farming tips. Mail just listed, just sold postcards or flyers. Mail look who's been busy mailers. That's where you show, all the things you've sold in the area. Use your own listings and sales in that one. Use other agents' listings and sales and present them by you if you're new and don't have any yet. And again, we have breakout sessions for this. Use a follow-up phone call. A lot of times, an easy way to do this is a survey call. Ask how long they've lived in the neighborhood. And, you want to call them and start. Hey, I'm the one that dropped off the welcome letter. I was just following up. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. You're not asking for business until the end. You're just trying to build a rapport and a relationship and get them to like you. I just call them a quick survey as I'm trying to get feeling of how the rest of the neighborhood feels about. Ask them things. How long have you lived in the neighborhood? What do they like about it? What's going on that maybe you don't know about? And then find out what they're committed to. Yeah, you plan on staying here long term, blah, 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 blah. That will work. And it's an easy, nice conversation. And again, I've got an activity for you for this one. Identify the nosy neighbors. Since we're live on YouTube, I won't tell you mine. But I identified her very quickly. Identify neighbors that like to discuss other neighbors and the neighborhood. The gossips. Through them, you can find out who's interested in selling. And guess what? Not only do they love to gossip and just give you that information because that's who they are, give them a small gift. Hey, thanks so much for giving me that lead after it closes. And what are you doing? You're reinforcing their bad behavior. But their bad behavior works for you. Maintain the relationship with them. Number 4, sponsor a local team or charity event. Sponsor a youth team or a local sports team. Go to their games. Bring them water bottles or Gatorade or whatever else, refreshments. And then place an ad in the local paper supporting them. Goes a long way with their parents. Car magnets. Put them on your car. Leave them on your car. Park prominently at local events. This is a huge one. And park and leave your car in a prominent shopping area during peak times. So going back to the first one, Keith that you met that was here the other day, much to his son's chagrin, his son is a very good and competitive soccer player. When they would go to soccer games, he coaches and whatever else, they would park at the furthest part away on an end spot where everybody that pulled in had to drive past his car and see his real estate stuff. Like genius. Smart. Same thing when you go out anywhere, park where everybody's going to see your car. If you can, park and leave your car for a day in a prominent shopping area during peak times. Now, if you're going Black Friday, if you're not going Black Friday shopping, get somebody to drop your car off in the middle of the mall. People still go to malls, I don't know. Anyway, it's someplace where people shop. People are going to see your car. Also, park prominently at open houses, showings, etc. I like to teach that you do not park in a person's driveway ever, and don't park on their side of the street blocking the beautiful view of the house. Park on the other side of the street. And again, let people see that you're there. Number 6, host a seller or buyer seminar. Partner with an agent with an adjacent farm, somebody that maybe farms somewhere close to you. Partner with mortgage, title, home inspectors, remodel companies, landscapers, and present yourself as the local expert. Advertise the event in your local paper, social media, whatever, your blog, your website, and get flyers out everywhere. These seller and buyer seminars, people will show up to them to learn the best way to do these things. And guess what? They're looking at you as the expert. Here's the other good news. It's a buyer seminar. The mortgage person is going to do all the work. It's a seller seminar. You're going to do a little bit more of the work about pricing and all those types of things. But the title guy is going to do a lot of work. So they're not that heavy of lifts. Be the welcome wagon. Welcome new neighbors. But I didn't sell them their house. I don't care. Because guess what? Their agent's probably not going to follow up because that's just not what they do. Agents are horrible with follow-up. It's just in the DNA. So create a welcome package. Bring them dinner. Provide them with a local restaurant coupon. Get them on your mailing list. They may have friends that want to move there. They may decide the neighborhood's not for them and want to move out in a year or two. It's just another way to jump in and get business. And number 8, mailings. Notice I put mailings last. Most trainings you go to, they're going to just send mailings, send mailings, send mailings, send mailings. Okay, 1986. Okay? Direct mail, unfortunately, still works. It fortunately still works. Unfortunately, it's nowhere near as good as it was even 20 years ago. You need to send regular mailings. And again, if you're new, do door hangers. They're dirt cheap. You can design them, get them printed, and walk around. You walking around gets you in their neighborhood where people are seeing you walk down the street, making you look more local than maybe you even are. Share testimonials. Get branded notepads. Magnets. You get calendar magnets. You get schedule magnets of local, of the local professional teams or college teams. You could do magnets like with the calendars on them. Relevant articles, things that are happening in the local real estate market. The insurance thing was a huge thing. It still is. It was really a huge thing in Florida. Stuff like that. Interest rates. Create a neighborhood directory. This is fantastic. Make sure you get consent before you put somebody else's name, phone number, email, whatever out. But you can create a neighborhood directory. Let's build this neighborhood and let's build a bond with us as neighbors. Not everybody's going to participate, but a good amount will. And again, we already said calendars, monthly or yearly. Seeds. This is a cool one people always do. They give the little seeds, to grow flowers. Come grow with me. Branded Post-it notes. So every time they use a Post-it note, they pop it, they see your name. A lot of people still use Post-it notes. Some people even still use pens. I don't own a pen anymore. Well, I do. They're all whatever. I don't have a pen in my office. It's funny. If I have to write something, I actually come in here into the conference room to get a pen. I don't use pens anymore. I do everything digital, but that's fine. Professional brochures with your services. Have your brochure, guys. We talked about this before with the listing. Have it so you can email it. Have it so you have it printed so you can hand it to people. CMA mailings, free market analysis. We offer those free. Do you qualify hooks? Okay. People want something that, do I qualify? They get excited. Can I get something that somebody else can't get? It's weird and crazy, but that's the way it goes. Do an over-the-phone market analysis. We used to use a IDR call. That's one of those calls that's, it's a computerized call. It was a recorded call. I should say it wasn't computerized. It was a recorded call. It would say, if you're interested, press 1 for more information. It would dial through to our agents. That kind of things now, again, that was 10 years ago. People would do that. Now they hear that, they hang up on you. But things like that still do work, where you can call people and say, hey, look, I'm offering an over-the-phone market analysis. Or you can advertise on social media, over-the-phone free market analysis. Once you do this, in a hot market, by the way, you'll be amazed how much your house is worth. That still works in the market we're in now, because people are confused about that. They still don't necessarily think their house is worth what it's worth. But the beauty of it is, when they call, you give them a big number, a big range, not a big number, a big range. Well, that didn't really tell me much. Well, I can't really give you a clue. I can give you an exact number. All I need to do is come see your house. Oh, okay. Well, I do want to know whether my house is worth $350,000 or $300,000. Okay. And now you're in the door. You've got all your stuff to do a listing appointment. And a lot of times you will end up doing a listing conversation with them. If not, worst case scenario, you're going to build rapport with them and schedule another one with them in 2 years, et cetera, et cetera. 7 tips for effective mailings. Number 1, shared cost mailings. Find somebody else that'll partner with you. Sometimes mortgage title companies will do it, but think outside the box. You might find other people that would. Any service a homeowner would use. Air conditioning guy, heating guy, heating, or in Florida. For you guys that are in New Jersey watching this, heating. On the mailing, say, this is someone I know that I recommend to you. And you share the cost. I like to do where you get 10, 15 businesses, and they all give you $10, and you all put your cards on this, you all put your business cards on there. People will look at that, but you put you in the center, and they look at it like you built a cartel. Well, you know what? I've used that dry cleaner before. I've never gone to that pizza place, but since they're on there, the dry cleaner is awesome, so they must be good. So they must be good. So they must be good. I tell people this all the time. People, oh my God, that's an awesome idea. And the best part is, let's say the ad is $150, and you share this ad with 15 other businesses. You go in the center, and guess what you paid? Oh, $0, because they all paid $10 each. And again, it makes you do this. People are like, that's genius. And then people just walk out and they never follow up on this. It's easy, guys. Do it. Use it. Coupon mailers, value and coupon mailing books. We used to have the entertainment book from Marlton, New Jersey. I don't know if they have those down here or not, but I know they're pretty much national. You can do that. Buy one, get ones. Share the cost. Again, sharing the cost with other people and saying, let's advertise together, not only shows strength in numbers and builds credibility, but it saves you money. Number 3, personal envelopes. What's an envelope? Yeah, I know. But make it personal instead of the company letterhead. Oh, I'm going to look professional, and I'm going to set it out with the company letterhead. Well, guess what? People are going to throw that in the trash. That's junk. Address it by hand. What? Address it by hand. Somebody will think it's their grandmother sending them a check for $25 or whatever. Use a homemade style stamp for the return address. Everybody, I'll get Pitney Bowes. No. The homemade style stamp. In other words, so it looks like it's coming from an individual. We'll talk about Pitney Bowes, I guess, in a minute. But you don't want to use Pitney Bowes either. You want to have an actual stamp on there. It costs you a little bit more, but the return on investment is better. There it is, use stamps. Getting ahead of myself, kids. All right, next one. Use teasers on the envelope. You ever got one of these? Free offer? Announcing, big announcement. Act now. You ever see these on the front of envelopes? What do? Well, acting on what? Announcing what? That's one of my favorites out of the box. Refrigerate after opening. What the heck's in there? But you put a magnet, refrigerator magnet or recipes. Dated material inside. All things that are going to get you more opens. Use odd size envelopes. If you're a weirdo like me, I usually sort my mail by size before I take it to the dumpster, to my trash. Right? You know, put small ones at the top. And I usually sort what's good, and the 99% goes in the trash. But using odd size envelopes will increase your number of opens. And do that every couple of months when you're doing mailings. Number 7, use mailing houses. All right, we already talked about every door direct. Mailing houses save time and they ensure timing on delivery. Again, as your business grows, that'll become more important to you than your original farm. Because if you start with 500, guess what? A couple of years from now, you're not going to still be at 500 because your business is going to have grown and grown and grown. Events for success. We're almost done. Events are a great way to connect with your farm and build that 3-3 recognition that we talked about earlier. 3 touches. Remember the 3 things you want to say to them. An Easter egg hunt. Halloween, having branded candy bags you give to all of them. Here, take your kids can collect their candy in this. Having a pumpkin carving contest or best costume contest. Thanksgiving. Food drive or turkey giveaway. I had an agent, she still does it. She does Toys for Tots. A great way to get people to come into your office. She did it at a local pizza place just because it was in the center of where she was. But you get them to come to your office and donate toys. Valentine's Day, have chocolate roses. Mother's Day, give seeds. 4th of July, lawn flags with your business card on them. Labor Day, back to school coupons. Now, this does not occur in Florida. You got to do this sooner. These kids are already back to school here. In the north, they don't go back to school until after Labor Day. Alert local media, radio, TV, newspapers for free publicity. You got something going on, let them know. Hey, I'm having a Halloween contest. These days, the media is looking for anything to cover because they're just trying to get a story that nobody else has because the internet's blown them up. Some more events for success. Having a neighborhood barbecue. Great idea. Just do one of those once a year. Neighborhood yard sale. I would do that twice a year. Neighborhood happy hour. See how that goes. If people get into it, you can do them once a month. Same thing with a wine tasting. Chili cook-offs tend to be popular. I don't eat chili, but they tend to be popular around the Super Bowl, somewhere in January. Do one of those once a year and have prizes and awards. All kinds of ideas that you can run events that you could be the center of that are going to build you relationships, which are going to go to these people either becoming your client or giving you referrals. Before you advertise, remember that advertising can be expensive. Choose your initiatives wisely. Always choose education over advertising, technology, etc. The more you learn, the more you earn. Advertise only when you have the available funds to do so and to follow through. Why advertise? Because it creates a perception that you're bigger and more established than you are. Request to advertise another agent in the office's listings. Use the ads and listing appointments to create the assumption that you are well established. What's one of the fears that agents have? Oh, what if they ask me how many houses I've listed or how many houses I've sold? If you show up with an advertisement that you have with somebody else's listing, that question goes off the table because they assume it's yours, even though it's not. Oh yeah, here's an ad I did. That's all I have to say. Here's an ad I did, and it shows a listing. Guess what? They assume it was your listing. Show them 2 or 3 of the ads you did. And they can be social media ads. Print the social media ads. It doesn't have to be in a newspaper. Where to advertise? Again, this is just a refresher from 2 weeks ago. Homeowners Association papers in your church or synagogue, social media sites, search engines. A couple things to remember. Always use your photograph. I had an agent used to fight me. She hated having her photograph out. She's a pretty lady too. And I never understood it, but this was her. People will remember you by your name. People remember you by your face. People remember you by your phone number. They'll remember you by whatever. Your face is one of the big ones. Name, face recognition is huge. Use a photo in every ad. They teach us, when I got my MBA in digital marketing, the marketing professors, never use less than 2 or more than 2 types of fonts, which means what? Use 2 types of fonts. If you use one font, it's boring. If you use more than two fonts, people are looking all over the page. It gets confusing. Always have a call to action in everything that you do. Ask the reader to call you. Ask the reader to act today by creating a sense of urgency, which is the final bullet on this page. You want them to call and call now. Today is better than yesterday. Create that urgency. A couple other things, special business cards. If you're a member of a club or an organization, get a business card, with that organization on it, or something that resembles that organization. It will get you, again, people to feel closer to you. Get a business card with your listing printed on the back. This is genius. It tells the seller that you had cards made just to help them promote, tell the seller you had cards made just to promote their open house, or their house, I'm sorry. But what are you doing really? You're promoting yourself. Imagine how creative you look to one of their friends who may be considering their home. Imagine how creative you look when you're at a listing appointment. And again, you're showing ads and saying, oh, this is what I do too. I do business cards that we hand out with the listings on to get more people. Nobody else does that. Wow, this agent thinks outside the box. Wow, this agent knows how to market. Gets you more listings. It's a genius idea. Remember that there are many low-cost, high-return activities that a realtor can do to advertise. Community outreach, neighborhood events, community studies, targeting just listed and just solds, going after absentee owners. You can also use things like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, mailing to orphans. What's an orphan? That's somebody that your office sold them a house and they no longer work there anymore. Working open houses, prospecting-driven open houses, which we teach you guys how to do. So breakout sessions, community outreach, prep exercise, ROI calculator, which I showed you guys a couple of weeks ago. And I've got some scripts for you of what to say when you're talking to these people. Any questions?